My reborn brother chose the rich mom. So I let him walk straight into hell while I built an empire with the woman he despised. I woke up on the worst day of my last life, the day my parents finally divorced. My mother was furious. She had just heard that my father's rundown factory was about to be demolished for big compensation money. Now he wanted to dump me, the sickly younger son, on her so he could keep my brother John and enjoy the payout in secret. My mother yanked John to her side and declared she would raise him. I would go with my father. In my previous life, this was the moment both parents pushed me away like garbage. They both wanted the sweet-talking, strong John. I was thrown to my mother like trash. The result? My father gambled away every cent of the demolition money. My mother quickly remarried Larry Voss, a famous real estate tycoon in Phoenix. I barely survived until Larry dropped dead years later. But this time, a voice cut through the argument. John said he wanted to go with Mom. I snapped my head toward him. In that instant I understood. I wasn't the only one reborn. John had come back too. My father froze. John had always been his favorite. But John shot him a look of pure disgust, then turned to my mother with a greasy smile and said he would be filial to her from now on. My mother was stunned for half a second, then secretly overjoyed. She quickly signed the papers, cut ties with my father, and dragged John out the door. John looked back at me, made an exaggerated face, and mouthed the words, "Poor ghost." My father cursed me viciously, calling me a bringer of misfortune, then stormed out. I stood there alone and smiled. "In the last life, you killed me with that same face, John. This life, I'm going to help you meet your fate." My father and I returned to our tiny one-bedroom apartment that reeked of stale beer and takeout. He pointed at the storage room that barely fit a single bed and told me to clean it myself. Then he grabbed his last bit of cash and left to gamble with his buddies. I didn't clean the room. I picked up the day's newspaper and locked onto one small headline. Vanguard Tech on the brink of bankruptcy. Iron-willed CEO Lisa Montgomery faces crisis of trust. I glanced at the clock. 5:30 p.m. According to my past life memory, that evening Lisa would be hiding from debt collectors at a quiet barbecue stall on the west side of Phoenix. I went to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and left the apartment. I didn't approach Lisa directly. She was extremely wary. The best entry point was to let my father bump into her himself. I found my father already drunk at the outermost table, cursing me under his breath for his bad luck. I pretended to be anxious and ran over, telling him the water pipe at home had burst. He exploded in rage and swung to slap me. I stepped back at the perfect angle. His slap missed. His foot caught on a stool leg. He fell backward uncontrollably and crashed straight into Lisa, who had just stood up. She had no time to dodge. The impact hit her weak heart hard. Her face turned pale. She clutched her chest and bent over in pain. My father started cursing her for not watching where she was going. Lisa was struggling to breathe, drenched in cold sweat. Her trembling hand reached for her bag, but my father stepped on the strap. I shoved him aside without mercy, grabbed her bag, pulled out the small white medicine bottle I knew was there, and placed the pills in her mouth. I supported her back and told her to relax. The medicine would kick in soon. Through her blurry vision, Lisa saw a calm, determined young face. 6 or 7 minutes later, the tightness in her chest eased. She asked who I was. I gave a brief explanation and apologized, saying I would cover her medical expenses. When she learned my father was now at the police station, her eyes sharpened. I slid a piece of paper across the table. "My name is Jack Harlan. No one sent me. But if you're willing to listen, I might be able to help you solve Vanguard Tech's urgent supply chain crisis." Lisa glanced down at the paper. Her pupils contracted sharply. She had never seen someone so calm. It bordered on cold-blooded. I looked her straight in the eyes and smiled. "Miss Montgomery, you're about to lose everything. But I know exactly who is pulling the strings behind your partner's withdrawals, and I know how to make them pay." She stared at me for a long moment, then slowly nodded. That was the beginning. 5 years later, I stood on the top floor of Vanguard Tower, the building I now co-owned with Lisa Montgomery. My father had gambled himself into the gutter. My mother and John had latched onto Larry Voss, only to discover too late that he was a sadistic monster who destroyed them both financially and emotionally. John showed up at my building one day, broken and desperate, begging for a job. My mother followed soon after, crying that Larry had left her with nothing. I let them wait in the lobby for 3 hours. Then I had security escort them out with a single message. "You both chose the easy path. I chose the one that made me king. Enjoy the view from the bottom." Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's calmly watching your reborn brother and greedy parents destroy themselves, while you build the empire they never saw coming. Thanks for listening on Hidden Thread Teller.